Hey everyone, we're back. Part 2, Thrones of Eldraine.
I'm Drew.
In the first part, we talked about just the adventures, which was definitely the premier mechanic from the set. It's there was way more to talk about than I would have thought on day one of spoilers, and I'm very excited to try most of them out. I think
they're pushed. They look pretty.
Yeah, I think there's a pretty healthy amount of them that are going to be good, and I think there'll be at least a couple of them that are going to stick around for a while, like Murderous Raider. I mean, going to stay around for a long time, but we're not here to talk about adventures. We're here to talk about everything else that's not adventures. So before we get into that, we're going to thank our sponsor, the Mana Base, your home base for all things Magic the Gathering. I'm sure check them out. It's where we release all of our regular content, as well as our very new YouTube channel. We're releasing gameplay content.
Is it an old YouTube channel?
Very old YouTube channel that I've repurposed for this, for that exact reason. Yeah, check that out. So we have a lot more to get through today. A lot more to get through for this half. So we're going to start off with Castle Arden Vale, which isn't necessarily just the card as much as just the set of them. So Castle Arden Vale and the rest of so there are all these lands that sound like and should be legendary, but are not legendary for some reason. But it doesn't really matter in cubes. So they're all lands that come to play tapped unless you control at least one basic land of that type. Or sorry, not a basic land of basic land type. So if you control Castle Arden Vale come to play tapped unless you control planes. They tap to add their respective colors, and then they all have an activated ability. The white one is 2 whites, tap, create a 1/1 human creature token. This one I like a lot. I think this one has almost no cost. All of them have pretty much no cost to run. It's just you want to put these. I don't want to say like. Do you want to replace Fairy Conclave? Let's say with the blue one. So the blue one is 2 blue tapped scry 2. That effect is very good.
Yeah. None of them are like super impressive. They don't really strike me as high pick order, which makes me want to not include
I think
any
they
of
just
them.
kind of end up near the end of the draft that you kind of just get for free without having to think too much about it.
I'm not in for including any of those.
Which I'm not a big fan of for that reason. But I think specifically the whites and the blue ones are the standouts, with the red being a very specific role filler. So the white one, again, 4 mana, make a 1/1, will come into play on tap most of the time. Again, very little cost. There isn't really a premier white manland to run. So maybe Castle Arden Vale is that question?
Caracas is the,
I suppose, Caracas is the most played,
one.
I guess, premier white land.
Which I don't like for various reasons, but
Castle Arden Vale, I think if it's that role. I think if there's less Legion's Landing, this is the Legion's Landing you can play in a control deck.
I mean for Legion's Landing.
But again, I don't know. There's not very many decks where I'm ever going to draft this card high, but it's something that I will probably get 13th pick and be able to play. But nothing. I don't know if that means that it earns a slot. I think a bigger list maybe. The blue one again, 2 and 2 blue, scry 2. The red one is 1 red. Your creatures get +1/+0 on turn. You get fitting into this aggressive theme. It does cost you the 4 lands to do it, which is a steep price to pay in aggro decks, but it is a powerful effect in those decks. The black one is again 2 and a black, draw a card, and lose like all the cards in your hand. So obviously you wanted to fit into the aggressive decks. And the green one, being the most obscure of all of them, is 2/2 green, add 6, so you tap the 5 lands, add 6 green to your mana pool, only use it to cast creatures and activated abilities of creatures. That one's a little zany, but the maximum devotion. When you go back to Theros and devotion's back, 6 green's great. But yeah, all of them, have a handful of merit. Again, I think white, blue are obviously the winners out of all of them with red. Specifically for cube, fitting in. If you support black aggro a lot, the black one is good. But I don't know if any of these will replace, let's say, a manland that I want to run, or utility. Let's say Treetop or Volash Stronghold or Fairy Conclave, or even like Caracas. I don't know if any
that might be the best
cards,
red option possible.
Sorry,
that red land might be the best red land possible.
Probably. Yeah, if you force yourself to play like a non-basic land in every color, the red one might be the best one. But they're all cool enough. I'm sure they're all going to see a bunch of standard play, but they're not legendary, but it's really, really rare. This card must also probably see a bunch of standard play. Charming Prince. 1 and a white, 2/2 human noble. When it enters the battlefield, choose one. Scry 2, gain 3 life, or exile another target creature you own, return to the battlefield under hero control, being your next end step. It's hard to argue. This card's just a Mortal Bear. That's great.
I don't like Lone Missionary, but I like optional Lone Missionary with other things.
This is one of the cards that I've actually tested with a bit. before today's episode. And yeah, this 2-mana 2/2 that you keep in your opener. It has a scry ability attached to it. Later on, it has enough cute interactions in cube with its blink effect that make it very relevant. And then you know what? And I don't necessarily like, again, if it was just a lone missionary, I don't like it as just like a hate card for aggressive decks. But with the whole package, I'm a big fan of Charming Prince. So I think this card again is pretty easy, a pretty big slam dunk. Most people try it out. I can't imagine this card's ever going to be a feel bad. 2-mana 2/2, scry 2. It's hard to argue.
Yeah.
Speaking of cards that are just good. Fabled Passage. Land, tap sacrifice, search your library for a basic land, put on the battlefield, tapped, then shuffle your library. Then, if you control 4 or more lands, untap it.
Dodge's Winter Orb.
Dodge's Winter Orb. That's why we need it. We need more Winter Orb 8. But Fabled Passage is just like a better Evolving Wilds, Terraforming Expanse that we needed, that we didn't think we needed after Prismatic Vista.
It's something we didn't ask for, but we'll take it.
Yeah, so I think when Vista first came out, I cut one of them because I played both. And then when I switched my cube around and tried to Modern for a bit, I brought back in the third fetch land. But now, between Vista and Fabled Passage, I don't know if you're ever going to need another one of those effects again. But we have the more the merrier. We just have, again, didn't ask for it, but we got it.
Yeah, I think I'm cutting an Evolving Wilds. But
I'm for sure cutting one. Yeah. But, that's great. This is awesome. This is a great card. Who knew we would have got this in Vista in the same year? Right? Big fan. Another card that's just hard to argue how good it is Garrick, Cursed Huntsman. 4 green, black, 5 starting loyalty. 0, create 2/2 black and green wolf creature tokens with, when this creature dies, put a loyalty counter on each Garrick you control. -3, destroy target creature, draw a card. -6, you get an emblem with, creatures you control have +3/+3 and trample. So we got 6 mana Vraska, so Vraska Relic Seeker last year. And that card is also perfectly reasonable. It's like 0 or +1 to make a 2/2 Menace Pirate. That's perfectly fine. -3 to destroy creature artifact, you get a treasure. And then an emblem that makes your opponent's life total equal to their creatures. So both emblems will most likely win you the game. Garrick makes 2 creatures instead of 1, and its removal is almost as good, but nets you a card instead of getting a treasure. So I think this card is just better than Vraska is going to be most of the time, unless
because it makes 2 guys.
It's like people compare it to the
drawing cards better than getting a treasure.
People comparing it to the Elspeth Sun's Champion. It's the green-black Sun's Champion. It is not as good as
Sun's Champion. Will get me out of almost any board state.
But it's hard to argue how good Garrick is. It's 6 mana, comes with 2 friends, can draw you a card right away. It's good if you have other Garricks. If you have Garrick Wildspeaker and your creatures and your wolves die, boom, you're buffing your Garrick Wildspeaker randomly. Again, it's just hard to argue how good this card is. He's a big mid-range monster, literal monster.
Decent art.
Very classic Eric Deschamps, I believe is who drew him. But I really like his other art.
Full art one?
Yeah, the Masterpiece art. Big fan of that one. But yeah, it's Garrick. That brings us to the Gilded Goose. Gilded Goose?
Gilded Goose.
Gilded Goose. 1 green, 0/2 bird. Not goose. I guess goose is a type of bird. Flying. When it enters the battlefield, create a food token. Our first food reference. Pay 1 and a green, tap it, create a food token. And then tap, sacrifice a food. Add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool.
Sell me on this. I think this card's abysmal.
Yeah, I know people talking about it a lot. It's just like it's like a one-shot Bird's Paradise. Yeah. That you can continuously dump mana into to make more food. So I guess you can make the argument similar to what's his name, the Order of Midnight, or the Flying Bear that you can cast have a raise that attached to it. Again, it's a 2-drop that's good on 2. It's good later. Gilded Goose is good on turn 1. Will ramp you a turn, but if you happen to draw it later, or it sticks around a lot, and then the mana becomes not as relevant, you're going to start creating food tokens. But on the same side, I was about to say the same token, the same side, it just isn't always a mana guy. And I know I use my Birds of Paradise more than once in a given game. So what's it going to cost me for the Goose? I think there's enough mana creatures that you don't need the Goose. But I really like the word Goose.
So if you really want another mana creature, you could pay like Finhorn Elf or something. And
what if I want a mana creature that adds any color? There's not that many. And you get to make Goose's Loose references with the Gilded Goose.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm not necessarily trying the Goose either. I'm sure this is going to be a fantastic constructed card. But,
you might have sold me with the Goose is Loose. So I'm a big fan of the LA Big Geese.
I do like geese as a word, too. So, not a big fan of the Goose, but big fan of its name, at least, Something's Harmonious Archon. 4 white, 4/5 Archon. Flying, non-Archon creatures have base power and toughness 3/3. Whenever Harmonious Archon enters the battlefield, create 2 1/1 white human creature tokens.
Question.
Yeah.
Do we have any other Archons in Cube? Lumen Grid, whatever. He's not.
I don't think so.
Card. No. Okay.
Had we done our research, we would have known this. Mutavault. This does nothing to Mutavault.
Okay.
Mutavault
does
stays
not
at 2/2.
make Mutavault a 3/3.
Yeah. So this card is 6 power, 6 mana for 10 power. That is hard to argue.
I could argue against it.
Well, just at face value, 6 mana, 10 power is great. It's fantastic. It's better stats than Grave Titan. It's better stats than most Titans. The catch is if I guess your opponent. It also buffs your opponent's creatures, obviously. So this card is traditionally going to be good. This card is mostly going to be good when your board is already bigger than your opponent's.
Yeah.
And then it makes every creature trade with every creature.
Yeah.
Kind of removing the text. So Harmonious Archon kind of comes down to just who will end up having the most creatures after all the dust is settled.
Because my problem with this is it costs 6. And this is good in primarily a go wide, maybe. Let's say, strategy.
You could play any of the let's say any of the Cloudguard Ranger effect. Let's say you play Cloudguard Ranger on 5, then this on 6. All of a sudden, your Cloudguard Ranger's 12 power. That's great.
Yeah, but your tokeny decks don't really want a 6-drop.
Yeah,
they want to top out a Cloudguard Ranger. And...
Yeah, so yeah, I do think this card, like in the traditional, I guess white aggressive decks, I don't think you need Harmonious Archon. You have to go maybe a tad bigger. So in the token world. I do think this is an interesting payoff because in the token decks you have obviously much more creatures than your opponents do. So having this, let's say overrun on legs, if that makes sense, might not be bad. I think this card I think you just have to play this card. I think it's kind of hard to evaluate this card just at face value. But again, worst case, even if the board is stale, you still get the 6 mana 4/5 flying. That body's nothing to joke about. So
I think it's Harry Potter's Patronus.
It does look like that. It's not like that. There's not a lot of white 6s that they have a lot of competition.
That's the problem.
Not that you need a lot of white 6s.
No,
not a lot of 6s in general. But
like, what's the cut for it?
The Sun Titan.
Yeah, but Sun Titan goes in a different deck.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying you have Sun Titan and then nothing else for Reaver 6.
I like Vale.
I have Vale too. I'm not super excited about Vale, but
I'm a little excited.
Regardless, I think Harmonious Archon again, just raw power for what you're for investment. This card does a lot of things. This card's great. It comes out with infinite power, has a lot of text.
It's a mythic. It deserves.
This card feels like a mythic. Again, I do think this card you probably have to play a couple times just to see board states. Even if you're behind and your opponent has giant guys you can't deal with, if you can play the Archon and then all of a sudden your bad creatures trade with their good creatures, so maybe again I do think this card is just you probably just have to play it a couple times to kind of get the full value out of it. I proxied it in my cube a couple weeks ago. It just didn't come up in that particular draft, but I do think it warrants testing. It is a powerful enough ability that I think it warrants it.
It's fair.
Next up is Ironcrag Pyromancer. Is that correct?
Yeah, let's go with that. I'm the cunning linguist here, right?
Ironcrag Pyromancer is 2 and a red for a 0/4 human wizard. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, Ironcrag Pyromancer deals 3 damage to any target.
Giving life to Sensei's Divining Talk in 2019.
So I know people. I think this is another good thing I think about the spoiler season is that this draw a second card each turn theme wasn't really revealed until the back half of the set. It made a
lot of the comments in the last 2 days are like, here's a bunch of draw a second card.
Yeah. Like there's was it the Royal Scions kind of stuck out as being like this card, what does this really fit into? Like it fits into the what's his name decks, the Kiln Fiend decks, what exactly does it do? But now that's this draw your second card each turn is in the set, it makes a little more sense. It's very thematic to that theme. I don't know how good this card is compared to, let's say, a Gutter Snipe. The body is better, because you traditionally don't attack with Gutter Snipe, so the 0-4 is better than a 2-2, most of the time. But this one is harder to activate than Gutter Snipe. Drawing a second card consistently is more difficult, but the reward is significantly higher. If you can kill an X2 with this, that's the dream, right? Being able to kill a real-sized creature with these effects seem extremely powerful. So, if you draft the Spells Matters, or if you have the Spells Matters deck in the cube, I don't even think that's necessarily enough. I think you have to have enough cantrips, like the Setter's Divining Tops, enough of the Brainstorm, Opt, Ponder.
I think if you're addicted to those spells, this thing's good. Yeah. Gutter Snipe probably isn't, because fits in your current game shell, and Gutter Snipe's playing an entirely different.
Yeah, so the good thing, let's say playing this like this, the red-blue version of this deck. This card's gonna block. This card can block. Gutter Snipe not blocking. So, the ceiling on this card, significantly higher, way higher. Harder to, a little harder to build around. Because we are playing a limited format, it's really difficult to want to sandbag or have these effects consistently with this creature. Unless you do have a Setter's Divining Top or something in your deck that can always fuel it. Otherwise, you're gonna keep sandbagging all your cantrips till you draw this particular card. Because I don't think there's enough of these, obviously, to kind of warrant a theme or an archetype, at least limited. So, I do like a lot of what's going on in this card. I don't know, my list is definitely not catered for this. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So, I am happy with this card. I think this mechanic or theme is super cool, so I'm really excited that it is in here.
Yeah, this is one of those I'm glad it's printed. Not for me.
Yeah, it's not for me, but it is a cool enough card regardless. Alright, so next we got Oko, Thief of Crowns. One of the first planeswalkers we got spoiled. I think the first planeswalker we got spoiled.
Maybe one of the first cards in the set.
One of the first cards in the set, maybe spoiled. 1 blue-green, 4 starting loyalty, +2, create a food token, +1. Target artifact or creature loses all abilities and becomes a green elk creature with base power and toughness 3/3. That was a lot of words. Exchange control of target artifact or creature you control and target creature an opponent controls with power 3 or less. This card's weird. I do think that this card is obviously going to fit into a world where you have some sort of food payoff. It's kind of weird that this card polymorphs artifacts and creatures your opponent controls into 3/3 elks that you can later take. That's cool.
It looks so clunky to me.
I do think this is definitely designed for a constructed card.
It's got 1 million loyalty.
It does have 1 million. It does scroll up to 6 on 3.
It's good with Goose.
It is great with the Goose. I don't know where this card fits. I don't want to underrate the card. It only costs 3 mana. 3 mana. It makes food. It can make your mana guys into 3/3s. It can turn their titans into 3/3s.
Turn your food tokens into 3/3s.
Turns your food token into 3/3s. It takes your opponent's 3/3s. It does a lot of weird things. I don't know if you need any of those things, but blue-green cards are bad, so you can probably try it and it's probably fine.
It's 2019. Blue-green cards are okay.
We're still not great.
Okay, we're still not great, but
it's still not great enough that we can try Oko, Thief of Crowns.
Fair.
So, I don't know where Oko fits. I'm sure it's going to play fine. But yeah, I think this is another card that would definitely require some amount of testing before you can make a judgment on it.
I foresee myself having this thing in play, reading it, looking at the board, just getting mad.
Just having 1,000 foods.
Anything that I want.
I have 1 million foods in play. I have to figure out something to do with them. Gain a lot of life.
Gain free life.
Alright, that brings us to Once Upon a Time. 1 green instant. If this is the first spell you've cast this game, you may cast it without paying its mana cost. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature or land card from among them and put them in your hand. Put the rest of the cards on the bottom of your library in any order. So this card does a lot of things. This card is a green impulse, because it's an instant, which is great. Obviously, you can only find specific things. But it has this random play for free aspect. I don't know how much is actually going to come up in Cube as a one-of in Limited.
It's like that free spell from Masks gets you a forest or whatever.
By Langrat.
Yeah.
So I think just as a green impulse, there's a lot of, they've printed a lot of this effect. There's Adventures
Impulse.
Oath and Nissa. They just don't look as deep. They cost less mana. They're not an instant. They don't have this random free part attached to it. I don't think this card is necessary by any means. It digs pretty deep, and I think this card will be fun. Like,
I don't like impulses that cost 2 generally. I like the 1-mana ones, like all the little cantrippy ones. I like Oath of Nisa. I don't like Adventurous Impulse because it's slightly more restrictive. And this thing, while it digs deeper, is still restrictive, and it costs more.
Yeah,
so,
it is an instant.
What if
being
I want to get
is
this
cool.
equipment?
I don't know if being an instant green matters too much, but it is just better than being a sorcery. So, again, I'm sure I am testing this card for now. I predict it'll be extremely modest. It'll be fine. It'll be extremely serviceable, but a card that I'm sure you can mix and match with, like a kind of like Vivian's Arcbow. I think is a card that like compares in a sense of like an interesting utility enough green card you can slot into your cube and then replace with another one, the next one that comes out, and you don't really think too much about it.
I don't see this being drafted high if I put this in.
No, neither do I.
So that immediately puts me off until I see someone prove to me.
Yeah, this card. It's just like a space filler. It does interesting enough, I guess.
Yeah.
Questing Beast. 2 green, 4/4 legendary creature beast. Vigilance, Death Touch, Haste. Questing Beast can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. Combat damage that will be dealt by creatures you control can't be prevented. Questing Beast. Whenever Questing Beast deals damage to an opponent, it deals that much damage to target planeswalker that player controls.
Is that more text than a chroma?
This probably has more text than a chroma. This card is great. Everyone's going to play it. It might be
too powerful.
It might be one of the best cards in the set for cube. I'm sure this card goes from 360, the smallest cubes to the biggest cubes.
It's great.
Expect to see a lot of Questing Beasts in your life, especially if you play Standard. Ooh, another 4-drop with haste. Rankle, Master of Pranks. 2 black, 3/3. Legendary creature, fairy rogue. Flying haste. Whenever Rankle, Master of Pranks deals combat damage to a player, choose any number. Each player discards a card. Each player loses a life and draws a card. Each player sacrifices a creature.
Wait, choose any number? You do all 3?
You can. You can loot and edict at the same time.
I was under the impression up until now.
You only got 1?
You only got 1.
I think when you attack with this card, you most likely
probably only
ever
get 1.
Yeah. But if there were a case where you get the if you get to edict them and then you happen drawing a card happens to be good for you, like this card does a lot of things. It's a 4-drop in black. Black needs it. Most of the 4-drops in black are these various skin render, Chupacabra, Necrotal, various effects.
My main problem with black 4-drops right now is they all cost 2 black or more black symbols.
Yeah, so there's another 2 black. 3 toughness isn't the greatest, but it has a lot of text. It's hard to argue that this card should have been a 3/4.
It's got haste. It's fine.
Yeah. So again, another very very good card that I'm sure will be in most cubes. I guess for the foreseeable future.
Gale Hex Drinker.
Gale Hex Drinker. Yeah. Again, this card's great. I would imagine people are gonna be playing it for quite a while. Cool art. Very Lorwyn-esque. Let's keep coming. Robber of the Rich.
A lot of text.
1 in a red. 2/2. Human Archer Rogue. Reach Haste. A lot of things have reach in the set for no reason. Whenever Robber of the Rich attacks, if defending player has more cards in hand than you, exile a top card of their library. During any turn you attack with a rogue, you may cast that card and you may spend any mana as though it were mana, or you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast that spell. 1 in a red, 2/2 haste is like enough to make this card good, and then it also has other abilities attached to it for some reason. So I don't know how often that will admittedly come into play, but just as a 2-mana 2/2 haste with reach for some reason, this card is like playable enough.
Like no downside.
Right? Like Ash Zealot is all over the place.
I think Ash Zealot's my cut because that's an only mono red card.
Yeah,
this
absolutely.
is
who knows?
Other type of deck card.
So this card's just out. Again, I don't know how much the playing the spell will matter, but it's just a free. It's a red draw effect on this bear that has a lot of abilities that maybe shouldn't have that many abilities. It is mythic. That is the trait. It is mythic because it's Robin Hood, I guess. But again, another card I would imagine
not legendary.
Yeah, not legendary. I would imagine you're going to see this card for the foreseeable future too. The back to back Robber of the Rich, Rankle, and a Questing Beast are all 3 home runs.
They all have haste.
They all have haste. They're all mythic. It's hard to argue the quality, but I think if even just had those 3 cards, the set would be like a success. Maybe those three and then the one Evolving Wilds. Like, whew, sounds great.
I'm in.
That brings us to Stone Coil Serpent. This card, well, who's going to play it? Cost X mana, artifact, creature, snake. It's a 0/0. Reach, trample, protection from multicolor. Again, it has reach. Every these cards have reach. Stone Coil Serpent enters the battlefield with X+1/+1 counters on it. So it's a big artifact, endless one.
I'm a big fan of slowly undermining Ophiomancer's ability to brick my attacks.
You know, but you can't make Ophiomancer tokens when you control Stone Coil Serpent. But it does I guess it doesn't give snakes Death Touch. It just makes a Death Touch snake. This is a big endless one. It's like the best endless one.
It's a filler card, and as before, I was not very happy with filler cards. This is colorless, which doesn't have a lot of
It has
options.
the least amount of restrictions. You jam in a lot of things. I don't know. I'm not sold on this card. Just trying it out. I'll have to get back to
Give
you.
it a shot.
Let us, Well, I know a lot of people who are trying this card, so I'm very curious to see what people have to say about it.
Well, it's got protection from Cold's command. What do you want?
It does have protection from Cold Hands. It also has protection from our next card, the Royal Scions, which I was unsure if to put on the list, but it did. That's great. The Royal Scions, 1 blue-red, Will Ruin. I didn't realize it was only Will, but 1 blue-red, 5 starting loyalty, +1, draw a card, then discard a card, +1, target creature gets +2/+0 and gains first strike and trample to the turn, -8. Draw 4 cards. When you do, the Royal Scions deals damage to any target equal to the number of cards in your hand.
Is it has a lot of planeswalkers?
It does have a lot of planeswalkers, and this is
You could play 10 of them. I don't know
could.
if there's 10, but this feels like there's.
so the Royal Scions is a little more niche. It obviously fits into some sort of well, I want to say niche. You would imagine you fit into some sort of more aggressive deck. Obviously, they have the draw a second card, so it's extremely thematic to the set. Again,
Yeah.
I don't think
Deck
this
has the same loot or a better loot effect. Though,
yeah,
right?
that card is I guess yeah, it is just a more powerful effect. So that Dak Faden is most likely just the better card. If not, it's just the better card.
It's more combat oriented.
It is.
Like if you can't take anything with
If stealing the artifacts isn't that big a deal with Dak, if that's
you can buff up
effect,
your guys.
if that's an effect you don't necessarily like, the Royal Scions may be more appealing. Again, it costs 3 mana. It scales up to 6 right away.
It's a lot of
It's
loyalty.
hard for it. I'm sure this card is hard to be batting in Cube or any limited format.
Get crushed by questing beasts.
Crushed by Questing Beast. Yeah, again, I think it is hard to say that these 3 mana planeswalkers that start with essentially 6 loyalty are hard, especially if they draw you a card. I'm sure that if you decide to play this card, it'll be great. I'm sure it'll be fine. I can't imagine there being a drawback to playing this card. So, especially if you want to fit in this...
The price might be a drawback.
If you want to fit in this draw a second card, it obviously fits into that. But like every Is It Planeswalker will fit into that. Well,
Most of them
Ral
do.
Is It Viceroy, Dak Faden, Ral Zarek won't. Ral Zarek does not draw you a card. He's just a big flame Kavoo. But yeah, again, Royal Scions. I don't think it's the best Is It Planeswalker, but it'll be good regardless. The bar for Planeswalkers fitting in the cube is very low, and this card meets is exceptional. So. Speaking of... Oof. It's a lot of devotion. Torbran. Thane of Red Felt. I've never read that creature's name till now. 1 red, for a 2/4 legendary creature dwarf noble. If a source you control would deal damage to an opponent or permanents an opponent controls, it deals that much damage +2 instead. So it's like the Flamekeld possibility. Anyway.
It's a lot of red sources. It's good with Hellrider. I'll state all the obvious things, right?
If this card is in play, it's gonna be good, but it's
too narrow.
It's extreme. Well, I don't know if it's narrow. Okay, so it's a 4 mana 2/4. The body sucks. The mana cost sucks.
You want this thing to
Does
survive.
the payoff
body's
make
proper.
it? Does the payoff make it worth it?
Yeah. You don't want
Maybe?
this thing to be a 4/2.
No, I
I
understand. I think 4 mana 2/4. Again, you do want it to live, so it's better than it being a 3/3. But is the payoff there? Is this card good enough? I don't know. The mana cost is extremely restrictive.
He buffs himself too. When he
Yeah.
does the damage.
Oh yeah. He's
like
kind
a
of
stealth.
he's kind of like a 4/4. Yeah. This card, I think, when I first read it, I didn't consider it. Not at all. And I'm still not going to play it out of the gate, but I know a lot of people are excited for it. If you already have an existing board of red cards, it makes them all deal way more damage.
This one's not a mythic?
This one's not a mythic.
Wow.
That's good. There's a cycle of the triple devotion creatures. I'm pretty sure they're like the people in charge of each place. Anyway, again, I think this card requires almost little to no work to be good. You just have to get it. You have to get there. You have to be a very, very heavy red deck in an aggressive deck. So I guess my problem is you have to be pretty heavy red, and if you're going to be pretty heavy red, you're going to be on some sort of aggressive deck, and you can just play Hell Rider or something else. You're just going to kill them that turn. This card acts like kind of a well, it doesn't act like a Hell Rider. Obviously, if they have no blockers, they're probably going to die regardless. But Hell Rider is able to push through damage with having blockers, and that's part of what makes Hell Rider so good. And Torbrand, it makes your bolts better and your burn spells better. It doesn't necessarily. I don't know.
It's going to be fine.
I'm sure it's going to
whether
be fine.
You want triple red cards in your
triple red's kind of a bummer, but I'm sure the card will be fun. I'm sure it'll make big stories. It's just a matter of getting it in play. Once it's in play, it's all gravy from there. But
just add Nykthos in your deck.
Oh, devotion.
Yeah,
we already play Perforos.
There
good in the Perforos deck.
Yeah, there you go.
3 devotion for Perforos. All right, so Vantress Gargoyle. That's the next one. One in a blue. 5/4 artifact creature gargoyle.
Doesn't have reach.
It has flying. Doesn't need reach. Vantress Gargoyle can't attack unless the defending player has 7 or more cards in their graveyard. Vantress Gargoyle can't block unless you have 4 more cards in your hand. Tap, each player puts the top card of their library into their graveyard.
So this is a little awkward.
This card is absolutely awkward.
And I was all in to try it until they told me Brazen Borrower was in the set. I was like, well, there goes my slot for Vantress Gargoyle.
So Vantress Gargoyle is... What do I want to compare this card to? A Thing in the Ice?
I like Kefnet as a 3-mana Kefnet as a
I guess
example,
I guess when I look at Thing in the Ice is if you play it on 2, that's great. They can block. Vantress Gargoyle, if you play it on 2, can block. That's great. Over the course of some amount of turns, either removing their stuff or milling with Vantress Gargoyle, it'll take some amount of turns to turn on, just similar to Thing in the Ice. But if drawn later in the game, it'll most likely just be this 2-mana 5/4 fly. So this card definitely
it's big for 2 mana.
It's big. It's very big for 2 mana. Similar to Questing Beast, or not Questing, Lovestruck Beast, the 3-mana 5/5. This card will most likely be able to come down and block. It might be bad draw late, but even late game, if you draw and you have very few cards in hand, hopefully by then it's at least a 2-mana 5/4 flyer, which is again good stats. But you do care about blocking a lot in blue decks. So I don't know. I think this card is definitely interesting enough to try out. I don't know if it'll play as well as I want it to, but I think it's interesting enough to definitely warrant testing. But I'm not necessarily sold on it, but I think the upside is big enough that it warrants testing. That's kind of where I've settled on it.
Yeah, if I had another flex slot, I'd give it a shot. But at this point, guess not.
If you play Tinker still, you can tinker it away. That's nice.
Nah.
So next we got Venerable Knight.
Yeah.
Venerable Knight. 1 white, 2/1, Human Knight. Whenever Venerable Knight dies, put a +1/+1 counter on target knight you control. So that's Battle Lines.
Cutting Dragon Hunter, because this ability is probably more relevant than
probably
blocking dragons.
They put out playable knights here and there. And you even have your History of Benalia and odd cards that.
Yeah, they can go like 8 or 10 after all these additions.
If you need more Battle Lines, there's definitely a plethora of them. There's so many of them nowadays. You can play more. It's a human. The human's also a good creature type. Ooh, Yawgmoth has protection from humans. Take it back. It's bad against Yawgmoth. Alright, that brings the last card on the list, and that is Wildborn Preserver. 1 and a green for a 2/2 Elf Archer. Flash, Reach. Whenever another non-human creature... Oh, humans are non-human. Venerable Knight sucks. Whenever another non-human creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay X. When you do, put X +1/+1 counters on Wildborn Preserver.
I want to be super excited about this card because I know it's good, it looks good, but I don't think it's good until I see it. And I know it's going to be really good when I see it. It's
really, really, really easy to draw this card in your head and this card's great. And I think this card will be fine. Probably.
It has to be.
Yeah. Again, I think it's similar enough. It's, again, like I said, 2-drop. That's like good on 2. It's good late game.
It's got
You
flash.
get any other spell, it turns like even your extra mana creatures into like this, however much mana they'll let it rip into my Wildborn Preserver. It has flash. It has a lot of things going for it, and it's a 2-drop. Again, it's hard to argue just like the value you can get out of this card with almost no risk. Like it's all like the body sucks. It's like the mana cost is hard. There's no real cost for playing it with only a lot of upside.
It sounds great. I just can't comprehend it until I see
like
it.
Worst case, you get a vanilla 2/2 for 2 with flash. That is like the worst case scenario on this card. And that's not bad.
Ambush Viper.
Worst case, Ambush Viper, you know. Yeah, so this card seems to have not only upside, but tons of upside. Again, at little to no cost. I'm sure it's worth testing out.
The next set has to have
Also
a lot of
has
flyers,
reach.
right? Because
Everything has reach.
Yeah.
Like, if
It's an archer, why wouldn't it have reach?
right, but I don't see. I guess I'm not looking too deep at the art, but it doesn't look like it has a bow. I just assume there's a bow in there somewhere. But making an archer,
An automatic crossbows like that.
it being an archer makes sense that it has reach. But there's a lot of things in this set that have reach, which is really weird.
Maybe we just pull out all the cards that had it and nothing else.
Even that like snake, the chimeric mass snake has reach.
It's really tall.
Really big, I guess. But the 2/2. Anyway. So yeah, that's Thrones of Eldraine. Like I think way more cards than I think we would have ever talked. Well, than I thought we would have talked about. You know, you give me week 1 of this set, like we're getting maybe 3. But no, set very impressive. I think the whole Throne of Eldraine's experience has been great. From spoilers, the card quality, to mechanics,
Flavor.
everything about it. Like how Wizards promoted this set. How they
It's got that animated thing going on.
Yeah, it has the trailer. It has the trailer, which is very, very good. I don't like it as much as the War of the Spark one. I really, really like the War of the Spark one. But they're both fantastic. It's super cool that Wizard keeps doing that. Hopefully they keep doing it more often. They have the adventure border. They have the showcase foils, like the box topper look.
Don't remind me.
They have the
Gotta get these foils.
collector packs, which I like more as an alternative to Mythic editions. The Planeswalkers have the full arts foil, like the borderless cards. Everything about it, like I love it. I like that they got rid of like the Mythic edition, like kind of chopped it up, made it, put them in the packs, the $30 collector packs, 30 Canadian.
How many cards are in those things?
15. I believe it's still 15.
Okay.
So it comes with like 9 premium cards, I think. One like borderless card. I should know this because I literally sell this product, but I don't exactly know. But I think it's like 9 foil, common, uncommon kind of stuff. 3 showcase cards, which I think is the new border. And then 1 of the full art cards. I don't know if that's necessarily in the girl foil. I don't know how necessarily correct that is, but it's something along those lines. These packs are, $30 compared to $5.
So I only ever add cards in my cube once I get the foil version. I might have to reinstitute just not adding the card and just waiting a couple weeks for people to open.
Yeah, so I guess this opens a discussion again of
which is the best.
Which is the
version?
most pimp version? Which is the coolest version to run? So for a while we had masterpieces, expos, expeditions, a couple things. So I think we came to the conclusion that in like Kaladesh, if it came as a masterpiece like Torrential Gear Hulk, you get the masterpiece. That's the coolest one. It's day 1 set release.
It's first print, first pack, coolest version.
Coolest one. But those went away, so we don't have to worry about that much.
Yeah, and the ones that are reprinted from previous sets, no, they're not first print.
So then you have this, so you can get, but now they're like more obscure to get, kind of, but there's more of them around. So now there's like, I guess for people, if you don't work at a card store, between all these new versions they made for this set specifically, and what's going to be the Throne of Eldraine promo packs for F&M. So for most given rares, there's going to be regular one, pack foil one, pre-release foil one, Throne promo one, Throne promo foil one, and then showcase border if it has it, and then
foil
extended art border if it has it, and then the foil showcase border if it has it. 1,000 printings of every card. I have like six or 7 SKUs of Benalis Marshall in my system. You can get 7 Benalis Marshalls, all different.
Collector's nightmare.
Collector's nightmare. So you're gonna have to start picking your poison pretty hard here, because like, I'm not sure if anybody values I guess right now the Core 2020 stamped one, so they have the silver Planeswalker stamp in the bottom right corner.
I didn't even know those existed.
Yeah, so like, are those cool? Are those cooler than pack ones?
Nope.
Are those cooler than showcase border? It's crazy. It's wild up there. you play a lot of versions of the same card. So, anyway, yeah. Thrones is great. No, nothing to complain about. Big fan.
Got to pick up
tons of cube cards. Yeah, that's this year.
Rough.
This year's been great. It's been fantastic.
Well, let's bump it back and start at when Ravnica came out. So let's go Ravnica to Eldraine. So it's a little over a year, but
yeah, it's been like
I'm pretty sure
fantastic.
80 something cards have been switched out.
Yeah, it's nuts. Like the quality of card this year has been crazy. I'm really excited about this new plane we're going to. I'm not really excited about Theros or Zendikar.
Not at all. I look at these mana symbols. I'm like, these cards can't.
I guess
be
like Zombie Elspeth's probably would be cool. Zombie Elspeth has to come back. That has to be the reason why you go to Zen.
There's no other reason to go back.
I can't imagine. Daxos really misses his girlfriend or whatever that situation was.
When are you going to start your Aaron Paquette
my lore videos?
Lore video on the budget.
Oh, TCG player does it way better than I do. So they can have the small money. It's okay. But yeah. Anyway, like I said, we'll wrap this up. Thanks for checking out our review. Hopefully we keep making these in between gameplay and other things.
Other things?
I don't know.
Okay.
Anyway, thanks again to the Man Base, your home base for all things Magic the Gathering. Sure to check them out. We have MTG Jeff, who jams literally every iteration of a standard deck you can think of on Arena. And, John Zatchek slinging a lot of Merfolk. I'm not sure how many playable Merfolk are in this set, but there was a big tease. There was that Merfolk that you have to turn into a human to attack, and there was some sort of big meme that humans are just better, the better version of Merfolk. Anyway, check out John. But yeah, I guess that's it. That's Thrones of Eldraine, giant set, 2 parts. Check out part 1. See you later.